related to the DOM. We had just finished creating a calculator that would take two different numbers and multiply them, and then it would pop up the answer to the calculation. All right, but printing out to an alert box doesn't take advantage of the fact that we can write to different portions of the page using HTML. So let's go ahead and fix this and add to it so that we're not using an alert box anymore. All right, so let me drop down to the end of my HTML, and what I'm envisioning is I'm going to put an HTML tag right here, which is a div tag that I'm going to label and call result, and I want to put the result of this calculation in there. So first I'll type in div and then end it, and then in order for JavaScript to be able to recognize it and interact with it easily, I'm going to give it an ID attribute. So I'll say ID equal, and I'll call it result. All right, looking good. And then instead of writing to this alert box that I've now commented out, I want to write to this inner HTML right here. Do you remember how I would do that? Okay, so let's go document.getElementById, and then we're going to reference the name of the thing in the ID, and this is going to be result, and then we're going to say inner HTML, so that's the property. So now we're literally referencing this, and we can treat this property like a variable and just set it equal to something. So I'm going to grab this variable that we just calculated, put it there, hit save, and let's just see if the calculations get written to this HTML tag element. So I say 3 donuts, 99 cents, calculate. Yes, things are looking fantastic. 2 99 cents, 302. So at virtually all conceivable numbers and combinations, it comes out correctly. All right, so I'm happy with how my basic calculator is working. Now, if these were real sales, then we would want to be keeping track of all of the sales that accumulate over the course of the day. So instead of just having single calculations, I might also like to have a history. So I'm going to create a second history HTML tag. It's not called the history tag. It's going to be a div tag that I'm going to give the ID of history to. And I'm going to put that right underneath this so I can have a running history of all the sales that were made. So I'm going to drop down here and I'm going to say div ID equals history. All right, and it's currently empty. And then I'm going to copy this syntax right here, and I'm going to say history. Okay, so now I'm referencing this, except for rather than simply updating this every time, I would like instead to take that property and do this plus equal. Now, if you recall, plus equal is the same thing as doing this. Equals this plus that. So I'm saying whatever's currently there, take whatever's currently there and add to it something else. And so every single time we go through it, everything gets maintained, and then we just keep on adding on one additional thing. All right, so let me do a little undo here, and I'll say plus equal to that. And I think I'm going to have a little challenge here as I think ahead, because I need a line break. Otherwise, everything's going to be on the same line. So I'll say plus an HTML line break. All right, let's see what happens. So I say 1 donut at $2. It's a specialty donut. There it is. 2 donuts at $1.99, also specialty. Now it doesn't look very obvious what's going on here. That these are actually 2 different boxes. 3 at $0.99. So it's growing, but it's not clear enough. So let's go ahead and update this just a little bit, and I'll say over here, I'll add a string charge and then concatenate this variable on there, and then it should look a little more clear. All right, so here we go, 1, 2. All right, and then we'll say 2, 299, and 3 at 0.99. Okay, so the thing that gets updated completely every single time is this material, but this right now is technically in a div tag, and it just grows and grows and grows in terms of the content that is there. So the good news is that we've now learned how to use document.getElementById to reference the inside of an HTML element, and we can update it, we can read from it, we can also read from input tags as well. And just for a little bit of fun here, if you wanted to clear out the content of your calculator every single time you run it, then what you could do is something comparable to what we've been doing. We can take, at the end of our function, we will place a reference to that input box, and we'll just set it equal to nothing. And so now that's going to make it clear. That's not the only way to do it, but for now, for this example, this will work just fine. All right, so watch this happen. So 1, 2, 3, 2, so it clears out every time. All right, that's all we have for today on DOM. I hope that you're able to think of lots of interesting ways that you might be able to use this in the future.